I am Andrew Leduc,
That's what I love.
Mr. Mallard. Join me as always, Mr. Chief of Morale himself, Bud Copeland. Bud, how are you this evening before we get
So the point being is, good golfers are a fucking dime a dozen, and we saw it in full swing that the line of demarcation between.
here? Are you ready, Bud? Are you ready for the players? Are you ready to make money? Are you ready to try to beat me?
I didn't do my homework this week.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Divots and Pivots on the Fantasy Sports Corporation Network. I am Andrew Leduc, a.k.a. Mr. Mallard, and it's been a wild weekend football-wise. The Patriots are just – I can't wait to just have a funeral for them tomorrow. If you watch on the Dynasty Hour where I am every Wednesday night for the football talk, it's ugly. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure, because Bud likes to get his digs in because he does have a successful football team himself in the Georgia Bulldogs. But we'll get to that. Anyways, as always, Bud's joining me from a basement somewhere, someplace awesome. How are you, Bud?
You make me sound like a vagabond.
Yeah, I'm the one with exposed insulation behind me. Yeah, that's the whole point.
Most of the 24 people who watch this or consume it are listening to it anyways. I wasn't going to call you out, but who is that? There's the key. Is that the signed Keegan picture that we promised to a lucky winner?
So that's supposed to go out to Rook from Scoreboard Addicts.
Okay.
I still intend on sending it to him. I really do. I honestly keep forgetting. I moved twice last year, and I just kind of get
my buddy Dave has one that he's been waiting on too. That's why I didn't know if it was that one, but that's neither here nor there. I do want to go back to what you just brought up, which is football. I do have a successful team in the Georgia Bulldogs. All the worrying was for naught. Turns out that Kentucky is still Kentucky, and we big, they small. But I was encouraged to see our quarterback play very well. We scored quickly, which is something we'd struggled with slow starts at South Carolina and really every other freaking game. UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham, the mighty Blazers, whose program was non-existent a few years ago. They went under as part of, I don't know if it was Title IX or just budget stuff. And then they were risen from the dead by a campaign led by some alumni and former players. It was a pretty cool story if you check it out. But football, what in the heavenly hell is going on in New England?
What we are watching is the end of Bill Belichick.
And by the way, lump me in with your pain. I'm born again New England, and we don't have to go down the whole now do I just say that I was a Tom Brady fan this whole time? Since that was my whole claim to fame before. People would be like, "Oh, you fair weathered, F word." I'm not going to say it. It's a family show sometimes. Oh, yeah. And I would have to point out that I grew up in a Michigan family, and I knew about Tom Brady back in the days when he was having to come in and clean up Drew Henson's mess.
Before all of us were like, Tom Brady, who when we drafted him? Yeah. Before the rest of us.
Bledsoe had just signed that massive contract too, and so could have that could have been our future, but ifs and buts. Bill Belichick, in Bill we trust. I think he's going to figure this thing out. I think somehow, some way he's going to reverse engineer. What would you put the over under their season win total at right now?
So look, at the start of the season in the offseason, I had this team as an 8-9, 7-10 at worst. I think it's going to be a struggle to get 5 wins at this point. I think so. Last I looked, I believe, and I can probably look it up here in a second. I believe the win total over under for the Pats most recently was like 6.5. Yeah, I think so. Smashing that over. Under. Sorry,
smashing
that under because it just doesn't look good. And you just said that you think Bill's going to reverse engineer and fix this. I think what we're seeing.
No, I know dick about football. This is me being an optimistic fan. I'm actually asking you, the guy who lives, eats, and breathes this stuff. What's the missing formula, what is going wrong? Is it as simple as the fucking quarterback? We had Tom Brady, and now we're this. Okay, so
it's not that. So in a way, it is like big picture. In a way, it is because here's the thing.
Shoot me straight, Big Daddy.
Because here's the thing: what we always had when it came to this Patriots team for 20 plus years with Brady was buy-in. Whoever came to this team, whoever came through the doors, left the doors, there was buy-in to the attitude, the way that things operated, and it was always attributed to Bill Belichick creating the culture. What we can unequivocally say now, proof that since Brady's gone and how the culture has shifted to an absolute shithole, is that culture was created because people wanted to play good for Brady. They wanted to be a part of Brady's legacy. They want to be a part of the guy who's won 6, now 7 Super Bowls, but 6 with the Patriots. Like, players wanted to say that they played with the greatest of all time, so they would do whatever they had to do to make sure that when they were there, that team won. And if that meant just abiding by the coach and keeping your mouth shut, because that's what Bill wants, he just wants blind and quiet following, then that's what they did, because they knew ultimately Tom Brady's getting that snap and he's going to win them the game, so they'll go along with it, get their ring, whatever, and accolades and move on at the end. Now that Brady's not there, yes, Mac Jones not the answer. Mac Jones he's a bad quarterback. I think part of it is I think he's better than he is right now, because I think this situation is just not working. Is just not for him. But what we have here is that there's zero buy-in, because I think Belichick has lost a lot of the I don't want to say credibility, because he's still a fantastic coach. Like, he was still at his best. Yes, he was at his best when Brady was here, but I think their timelines just like synced up perfectly. So it doesn't take away from the coach that Belichick was and for those 20 years when Brady was here, because he still outcoached a lot of coaches that did things that Brady didn't have a hand in. Like, he still made defensive and special teams and these time management, like all these other things that it was Belichick, not Brady. So Belichick's still, in my mind, greatest coach of all time. He's just not anymore. And I think that's all right to say. It's not offensive to say. That's not a dig at him. It's just reality.
No, the way you described it is they're lacking almost good middle management, to use a corporate term, where there is Brady was that guy. He was the general manager, or he was the senior petty officer, or senior chief officer, whatever you want to call on like a aircraft carrier, where technically he's not the top of the food chain, but he has everybody down here and has their respect. Ergo, everybody up here, respects him. And it sounds to me like that's the kind of vacuum there. There's no personality. There's no leadership on the inside, because you just said it yourself. The Belichick way is don't ask questions, show up, trust the process, do your job.
Yeah. Well, no one trusts the process anymore.
Well, it's not. I mean, that's the thing, is there's not that singular person who's willing to, I don't know. I mean, and everybody leads in different ways. That's the other part, is not everybody was meant to be a Patriot and play the Patriot way. It's not everybody's cup of tea.
Great football players couldn't hack it and got cut before the season starts, such as Albert Hainsworth and Chad Ochocinco. That doesn't mean they weren't great football players. They just didn't work here.
And you hear guys like Gronk talk about how much they felt freer they were afterwards, but then they get the follow-up question of, would you have been as successful? And he'll flat out admit, he's like, probably not. He's like, you have to almost, when you're there, you have to buy into the psycho cult culture of this is what excellent takes. I mean, by the way, that's kind of that's what Georgia's got going on now on the college level, which is really just Kirby dragging that with him over from Alabama, where he was the defensive coordinator and one of their chief recruiters for 10 years. So I think that's there's a great, what are we, 9 minutes in, Aaron Sorkin reference time. In the West Wing, there was in the latter half of the series. Do you remember Lumberg from Office Space? The boss with the glasses. Jesus, man.
No. So I forgot that's what his name. It's been a while, but yes, I know exactly who he is. Yes, 100%.
Shit, Lumberg fucked it. Gary Cole's the name of the actor, by the way, and he plays this dipshit vice president on the West Wing. And there's some sort of skirmish that they're talking about internally, and people are questioning the president's leadership. And as he's walking out of the room, one of the scenes, he just says, "Hey, you know what they call a leader with no followers? A guy out taking a walk." And that's kind of what it sounds like is Belichick right now. It's just a guy out taking a walk. Talking about the glory years. But that's 9 minutes and 33 seconds on football. Let's pivot to golf.
Yes.
Where we can pull at a million different threads, because believe it or not, the FedEx Cup playoffs have come and gone. We're in the fall swing, and for the uneducated or the uninitiated, that's such a pretentious term.
Yeah,
We're talking about golf, an open and inclusive sport. For the uninitiated, this fall swing is all about positioning and jockeying on the FedEx Cup points. That kind of, it's a continuation from last year, but then they're going to start over fresh in January. But this is to position yourself to try to get into those signature events at the beginning of the year, and closer to the top better, and making some money. And for some of these guys, if you win, certainly securing that tour card for a couple of years. So there's a little bit of excitement. You saw some heartbreak this last weekend with Ben Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
We've been following him on the show. His mom is a legend in the golf world. UNC guy. Him and Eric Cole were two names throughout the year that we would just bounce back and forth randomly. He had that 54-hole lead and lost in a 5-way playoff. I know you didn't catch any of it. You know how I know you didn't catch any of it? I didn't catch any of it. I saw that the playoff was starting, and I texted you, and that was about it.
But who was it on the Corn Ferry? I forget his name, but I saw the video. The guy on the Corn Ferry Tour who had a putt on 18th. It was probably about like a 10-footer to get his tour card, and he missed it. And all he did was he didn't drop to his knees, but he squatted down, just put his head on the handle of his putter, and you could see like 6 people in the background between the other golfers, their caddies, whatever, just standing there, and nobody approached him. It was just like
you
just had to leave him in that moment, because everybody who knows golf and loves golf, watches golf, whatever, understands that what that meant for him and for what he just missed out on, like how that hurts. And they just had to let him be in the moment and go to him when he comes out of it.
I did not catch what's his face in the heartbreaking moment, but I did catch Nick Dunlap, the reigning U.S. amateur champion, Walker Cup guy. He plays his college golf down at Alabama. He lipped out a putt for 59 recently, which was scary good to watch. But there were plenty of 59s shot over at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship over in Scotland. I know it's an event that you circle on the calendar every single year.
It's 100%. It's the only.
But I've heard you talk about it.
Yeah, the only thing that I would watch more than that is Washington versus Carolina. Football. That's how much I care.
Yikes.
Kidding.
Fox 1:00 game. No, so the Dunhill Links Cup is a cup. The Dunhill Links Championship is it's been around since like 2001. It's a pro-am. It's just it's their version of our AT&T Pebble Beach pro-am. They play 3 courses: Kings Barnes, Carnoustie, and the old course at St. Andrews. Those are the first 3 rounds, and then they circle back for a final round at St. Andrews. Rain shortened it to 54 holes, so they all just played the 3 courses. They finished on Monday. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because there was a couple fun storylines on the side. First of all, Brittany Horschel and Billy Horschel were out there repping Team Pink, the first husband-wife duo I think that we've seen do this. And they also were, I want to say she played golf at Florida as well, or she might have gone to Florida.
We've seen husband-wife caddy player combos, but not player. Yeah, we haven't seen. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure it was clear what you were saying. We haven't seen before. I don't want you to get called out.
Well, don't at me, bro. If that gets your socks rolling up and down, then wait for this. Matty Fitzpatrick, your favorite in mine. Somebody texted me during the Ryder Cup and goes, why does Matty Fitzpatrick have a punchable face? And I was like, as soon as he said that, I think Fitzy dropped like his 5th birdie in a row. And I was like,
don't hate on the man's teeth like that. Come on. Yes, he's got a big
he's got a wonderful grill. He just got his braces taken off. They're not hating on that. They're just talking about he's got that one of those like British faces, I guess. I don't know.
See, I don't think that. I don't know. I think the man is a classic looking guy. I don't know.
Classic is a good way to put it. He teamed up in the team portion with his mom, Susan Fitzpatrick, Mama Fitz, and Mama Fitz can play. Over the 54 holes they played, she contributed 8 birdies and 4 eagles to their team score. 35 under. Fitzy won the team portion and the individual portion. First player to do the double dip since Patty Harrington did it back in the early 2000s. So a lot of action going on.
I do miss me some Patty Harrington. Patty Harrington was fun to watch in his day.
My old roommate in college was a big Patty Harrington guy, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he used to play Wilson clubs and had a Wilson visor or whatever, but Patty Harrington for sure. I think they're going to circle back to him with the Ryder Cup pretty soon. There's rumors that they might leave
Oh.
Luke Donald in charge to see if this game travels. Maybe we found our leader for a while.
Well, Luke Donald definitely carried himself a lot from the coach's perspective. Carried himself around the Ryder Cup with confidence and poise. So I don't see why they should change anything there at the Ryder Cup. And because we are so close as co-hosts, I know exactly where you're going with this. When it comes to Davis Love, probably talking about the Ryder Cup and who should be in line. When it comes to the U.S., because that's something we touched on last week, and it seems like you may be not getting your wish, but you may have predicted it correctly that Davis Love thinks that it's obvious that it's Tiger.
Me, and about 500,000 other talking heads out there think that Tiger's
but you said it here,
captain.
I said no, so that means you're winning.
Well, and if you missed it, if you're not as thick into the golf world as Andrew and I. Basically what happened was Davis Love III came out recently in an interview and was talking about his Ryder Cup involvement, Davis Love III's. And he said, going into this one, I kind of told Team USA in general, this is my last go of it. This is a perfect time.
He's been involved for a long time too. Like he's been very involved for a long time.
Shit, as a player and a captain, probably going back to the 80s. So, I mean, and then... So he came out and kind of said, it's time for me to step aside. Of course, there's going to be pushback. And he was like, I'll consult. I'll do this. I'll do that. But as far as being like the captain again, he was basically saying, no mas. We need some and then he just came out and kind of said it. He goes, I think we all know where this is going. And I think he knows that it's his if he wants it. And obviously, we don't refer. There's only two people
who no get other
referenced by that pronoun. Yeah, there's one. The Almighty, but that's neither. And some would argue that Tiger's got a better short game. So the ball is essentially in Tiger's court, and there's questions though around that. I mean, as fans, we all want it. We all want to see it. We think that here he comes, and the story is perfect. Beth Page, first public course to host the U.S. Open. Tiger's won there. He won that U.S. Open. The People's Open, as they were dubbing it back then. Yeah. The New York crowds are going to be nuts. I literally had to do a quick check. I forgot that Beth Page Black was as close to New York City as it is. I thought it was in upstate New York for some reason. I forgot that it was on Long Island. It's and
it's a hard freaking course, even for the professional. Like obviously for the public, it's definitely a ridiculously hard course. But that course gave the tour fits when they were there. I remember that.
And they'll do the same thing. They'll trick it up. They'll grow out. It's very narrow. They'll grow out the rough, or they'll do the opposite. They'll lengthen the tees out as much as possible and maybe widen it for our guys. You never know. Talking about playing to the advantage of the teams. If that's what our team is built around, but that's neither here nor there. The point that I was going with was Tiger, and we all want to see it, and the math all adds up. There's other math going on too. Tiger could be looking at this as he did this in 2019. He was a player captain for the President's Cup and was successful down there. I mean, did a very good showing in a final day comeback for the Americans. Yep. He could be thinking that maybe that's a possibility, if he's in form and maybe he plays. I mean, it only took Brooksy 2 majors really and a couple of other starts to get into contention. He could also probably be looking at this as it's not my time yet. I just took on this role on the player board and maybe I'm not done. I've got a couple years left, really. Realistically, he's going to come off this injury. And he's going to have a couple more years where at Augusta, we hold up a little hope as long as he's healthy. Maybe if he gets to another Open at St. Andrews in 5-6 years, and we're like, he's 49 or 50, the stars are aligning for Tiger for one last stroll across the Swilken. So he's got that window of time. And a guy like him, when you've got the money and you've got this, all you got left is legacy in that trophy case and chasing 18. So he could say, not yet, just not yet. And if that's the case, let's take Tiger off the field for that reason. Mm-hmm. Then it goes back to Davis Love III, Freddie Couples, that era, or do you take it one step down and maybe even go to a more player, somebody who's still quasi-active, like Zach Johnson is a guy on tour. He's out there competing.
He was relevant at times this year. Like it's not like he was missing every cut and just there for the for his photo ops or whatever for the fans. Like he was relevant. He was in the mix a few times, not often, but a couple times. But you kind of hit on it as to why I'm not sure Tiger is going to be the next captain, because I'm not sure. Like, okay, so if you had to say I think over the last year or two, we've seen the Tigers definitely focused on pushing the game of golf forward in the way that he sees the correct way, and that is been made very clear. It's not the way that Liv is doing it; it's still the way the PGA is doing it. Which way do you think he has a bigger influence on pushing the game forward, as taking on more responsibility in the commission role, his new role within the PGA and the board and all that, or the Ryder Cup captaincy? Because I argue that he's going to rather put his focus into his new position within the inner workings of the PGA to make those pushes forward for the game of golf, and really, plant the PGA Tour back as the unquestioned top of the golf world, which I think I and most other people around the game of golf understand that they still are the gold standard. But there's been enough people who are kind of on the outskirts of golf that think Liv is there as well. And I just feel like Tiger may think he has a bigger role to fill within the PGA than he does as a Ryder Cup captain.
I like that you dropped Phil there at the end. To your point,
I wasn't even meaning to, but thank you.
Yeah, well, tip of the cap to you. Credit to you for broadening my lens and really actually narrowing it at the same time. Tiger seems like the kind of guy that when he takes something on, he's going to want laser focus on that. He doesn't want to half-ass anything he does. This isn't a restaurant that he's kind of green lighting with his name on it, or something for his foundation that he's like, I trust you all. This is vetted. Yes, you can sign my name to it. That kind of shit. Like you said, I go back to legacy is all this guy's got left to prove, and even if he were to hang it up today, there are people who would make the argument, because of differences in time periods, that he is the best of all time, better than Jack's 18, better than Bobby's, natural grand slam in the early days.
It's 100% a conversation. 100% a conversation.
And it also goes the other way, because Jack's got that resume that even though Tiger's at 82 wins, you look at Jack's performances in the majors, but then there's that stat where so there's all the ways you can slice that. This is another way of, I don't think these guys see it as legacy building as much more as maybe it's a responsibility they bear. Speaking of bear, Jack talks about that responsibility you have to the tour that him and Arnie and the guys kind of got going, and why it was such a big deal when these guys took this money and did their thing. And we'll get to the guys and the money and the live updates in a couple minutes. But as far as Tiger's concerned, if he's in that seat right now, in that era, I don't see him splitting his time mentally to something like the Ryder Cup. Instead, I do see him. I mean, he probably has two goals left really when it revolves around golf. Support Charlie and his game moving forward, and then chasing 18. Mathematically, however that's possible in his brain, he can make room for kind of one more leg to that stool. And I think it's going to be this player committee thing until that is sorted. Once that's sorted, I think he's going to exit stage left, say put somebody else in my spot, and or they might actually disband the seat and just say that was a one-time thing. But then then I think at that point, so I think we want it. And who knows? These guys are also brilliant and they're dedicated. Maybe he takes it and says, fuck yeah, well, let's do this. Like cowboy up.
And I have 2 points of things you just said there, because one, that's part of the reason why last week I said I'm not sure this is the time for Tiger to take it, because I do think he's got these other things on his plate that it just seems like if he's going to do it, like you said, he's going to want to put his full focus on. So I feel like it's maybe 2 Ryder Cup teams out now that will become his time. But also, let's bring up, we'll very vaguely bring up Hatgate again here, because, with Tiger's public stance and the way we know he feels about the way the money is involved in golf and the way golf should be, because I do think he's a purist from the sense of like Jack and Arlen, that, like you said, the responsibility that they have to the game of golf to move it forward. Like, I think he falls into that category. Do you think Tiger would, I don't want to say want to, because I think he would want to be a Ryder Cup captain at some point, but do you think at this point, if going into the next Ryder Cup, we still have this whole kind of money being paid to represent, like, kind of, I don't want to call it controversy because it hasn't reached that level, but the conversation, would he put himself on both sides? Because I think he's on the side of not getting paid, but would he be able to captain a team of players if they mostly believe they should be paid? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure. I just don't think the timing falls right with everything that's happening in the golf world right now, that I think it's still like 2 cup teams out. It's a stretch, but it's a conversation.
There's a couple of things going. Well, there's a couple of things there. First of all, could he lead a group of guys? Yes, is the answer to that. No matter if you're this, that, or the other, however you feel or play, when it comes down to the game of golf, these guys are all professionals, and I think that he can easily respect people's opinions. The conversation is not going away. It's been around for decades. Players thinking that they deserve to be paid for these appearances, and it kind of goes to there's a similar argument with the NCAA players and their name, image, and likeness thing, where it's like, wait a minute, you're generating hundreds of millions and billions of dollars off of a product that we produce. And we feel like our compensation in the form of scholarships are inadequate. And finally, there's this roundabout way of, and this is what I think is going to happen, is there will be some sort of roundabout way of sponsors chipping in and paying these players, and just having it be that simple of, the Mercedes-Benz, Ryder Cup, presented by,
and I think
whatever.
I think that's the only way they will get paid, is if some sponsor or a collection of sponsors steps up and decides to do it privately.
I honestly think that that's where it'll end up. And by the way, rewind. If you don't know what Andrew was talking about, Hatgate coming back up, Patrick Cantlay, I guess, and correct me if the setting's off, but essentially he was overheard saying, referring to a PGA official standing nearby, saying, "I'll put a hat on when I get paid to wear one like he is." Meaning, and so all the rumors about he doesn't want to wear a hat because he's not getting paid, and then covering it up in the moment with, "I didn't wear one last time," and then in the President's Cup you wore one and you're getting paid to play there. So I wish he would just I get why he didn't deflect in the moment and just eat crow.
Of course, you're in the moment. You got to focus on the task at hand, which they did not. But whatever.
But I agree with them that they should be paid and compensated in some way. If this much revenue is actually getting generated, sure. I don't know if that's the case. If that much revenue is actually getting generated,
that's what I was going to say. Because
this is the World Cup.
Because for me so that's you're touching on my point exactly. Because what I would be curious to know is, where does the Ryder Cup fall in like ratings and money earned standpoint compared to the majors, compared to the players, compared to the waste management and some of the other higher echelon tournaments throughout the season? Like, because the Ryder Cup to me still feels like a golf fans tournament, not your everyday.
It is.
Not your casual golf fans tournament. You know what I mean? So like, does the ratings reach a point to where, it's on this, like, for me and you and other golf enthusiasts, like, yes, the Ryder Cup is like up there with the majors, but in the business scheme of things, does it stand up to everything else that does bring in the big bucks? Does it even stand up to the elevated events?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, obviously, because let's be honest, we just started this conversation a couple seconds ago. But I think, hear me out. 2020, yes, is the answer. By the way, it does.
Okay.
I think
it was a general question. I wasn't trying to shoot it down. I'm curious.
But I think it's a new thing in the sense of, until Paris in 2018, with the advent of social media, real in all like the instant streaming of everything at that point. I know social media was already around since 2004, yada, yada, yada. But in the kind of mainstream culture of everybody on their phones and devices, and the fact that it was in Paris was kind of, something to get it kind of, ooh la la, no pun intended, into the mainstream. There was this pop for the Ryder Cup. And then when it came back 3 years later at Whistling Straits, it was right after COVID, and it was this massive kind of jubilant celebration. Everything was getting celebrated in its return. The Boston Marathon, all these things coming back online. So there was a moment where it was captured in pop culture. And I think there was, if you saw the coverage, the suites that were sold, the corporate suites and all the packages and the whatnot, especially because the Whistling Straits is part of a massive kind of golf compound. Then all of a sudden the money signs start showing up, like, oh my God, we have something here. You saw that in Rome. That was freaking massive. And if Americans, we see something, we're like, oh, we can do that bigger and better. So we're going to figure out a way to have 80,000 people around the 18th hole. There's going to be some monumentally weird thing where this is going to keep getting bigger and bigger. It's going to require more capital. And I think what's going to get negotiated in there is going to be a chunk for the players, maybe a flat fee for the appearance, and then a winner's purse, just like any normal freaking tournament. So for anybody who thinks it's a distraction, no, it's business. And I don't think it's any different than these guys
I don't see it as a
negotiating.
distraction. No.
Yeah, it's no different than them negotiating whose name goes where on their body or their bag. So I like that. I like that you brought it back to Hatgate. I forgot about Hatgate, honestly, until that came back up. To your question about Tiger, yeah, I think you are right that it's going to be a couple more times. We're not going to see him Bethpage as the captain. I don't think. I mean, I could be dead ass wrong. And again,
he might still be involved. I think he might still be involved though, because like you said, he's invaluable when it comes to strategizing around a golf course, and especially at Bethpage. Like his experience.
If he's healthy and he's in form, I could see him being a captain's pick because just like you don't.
Here's the thing. I'm not sure he plays enough at this point to warrant a captain's pick.
We're talking about 2025. He's going to return to competition, I think, before the end of this year. If he has some sort of like lights out showing throughout the second half of 24 and into the first half of 25 at these majors and a handful of other events, including the Memorial, I could see people out there saying it's Bethpage, Tiger's back. You want this crowd. I could see that being an emotional pick. I don't think he's going to be the captain there, but I could see 29 at Hazeltine because I also don't. Who knows? Maybe 20.
That's another classic spot too.
Yeah, but maybe in 27 they're going to the golf course at Adair Manor, which is a spot that is it's a niche spot for like golf nerds. Like this is like the players talk about this place. They really like it. It's been on their radar for a long time and they're super excited. I could see Tiger being maybe tapped for that. Hey, Bubba, go over there and bring the cup home for the first time. But speaking of Tiger and DL3, quick little crossover. I got a fun story for you after we hear from our friends at Underdog that has those two and where their paths crossed. I'm gonna go get some more tea.
Europe's made their way into your head too, I guess. I'm just like the U.S. team's heads. We'll be right back after Underdog.
Fantasy Sports Corp and Underdog Fantasy have teamed up to start your fantasy season off in the win column with Best Ball. What is Best Ball? It's quite simply the easiest way to win. No team management, no trades, no waivers. It's their biggest contest ever and it has only gotten bigger. You simply have to sit and win. You don't even have to set your lineup. Always get your best score every week. Just enter a contest, draft your team, and Underdog will do the rest. What could make this even better? How about free money, up to $100 using our exclusive promo code? Go online now and use the promo code DIVPIV to double your deposit up to $100. You tell them Gingerbread sent you. Good girl.
All right, bud. Tell Gingerbread exactly what you were just leaning into there. Because there is still a lot to get into. People say it's the off season of golf, and that's just false. There's still a lot.
You gotta see somebody about this gingerbread thing, man. Tiger Woods and Davis Love III. So actually, it was just a couple of days ago. We just passed the anniversary of Tiger's first win. Oh man, my jaw just popped. That felt terrible. Tiger's first win was at the Las Vegas Invitational on October 6th, 1996. I'm staring at a picture of his first winner's check. It was $297,000. $297,000 is what he got for winning. And that's when he came on to tour. And we're talking about a tour now where the winner is taking home 4 million plus on some of these tournaments. Just that. And by the way, that's the Tiger impact. That's what happened when we had a superstar come online in the digital era just right in time. Can you imagine Michael Jordan's magnified? Well, I mean, we saw it with LeBron James. It was that.
Thank you. It's why you can't compare them. So I don't want to get into a Michael LeBron.
Yeah, but I'm saying Michael in the social media era would have been a whole different beast. Let's not even go there.
Thank you.
It was on this day, and if it was October 6th, it would be on this day. But on October 6th, 1996, Tiger Woods, because the Las Vegas Invitational is what they're actually playing this week, which is the Shriners Children's Open. Back then, it was called the Las Vegas Invitational. This was Tiger's first win, and it was actually over the aforementioned Davis Love III in a playoff. And DL3 tells that story about how he was in the lead that day of a PGA Tour event, and Davis Love III, for the uninitiated, not the uneducated, for them too, DL3 was a big effing deal in the game in the 80s and 90s. I mean, him, Freddie Couples, they were those freaking dudes. They were the Jordan Spieths, the Justin Thomases. They thought that they were the next maybe Jack Nicklaus. They were up there with Faldo and Greg Norman. But then this kid comes along and he talks about how at that tournament he had the lead on Sunday and there was maybe 24 people walking around in his group because Tiger was 3 groups ahead and the entire place was with him the whole day. So we're back in Vegas this week for the PGA Tour. Quick pit stop, and then we'll get back to the juicy stuff because you are right. There's a lot to get to in a little bit of time left. They are back in Vegas this week. If you're betting on this, it's going to go low. Opportunities gained, Eagles gained. This is a TPC course, but it's more of a TPC resort course versus that kind of TPC Sawgrass, really hard course. So look for people to go low. Lexi Thompson is going to be in the field. She is crossing over from the LPGA Tour, and it's going to be fun to watch because one of the big things that's on display when sometimes you have these crossovers is the length disparity. But the last few people who have done it have been Lexi Thompson, who averages 270 off the tee, Brittany Lincecum, who averages 270 off the tee, and Michelle Wee West, who obviously was 285 in her prime. So some of the longer hitters seem to get that nod at these tournaments. And then to round it out, Susie Whaley, Annika Sorenstam, Babe Diedrichsen, Zaharias, and Shirley Spork are the other females to make starts on the PGA Tour. So if you had Shirley Spork on your bingo card, there you go.
You ready for this? Because you'll be impressed. I know that Babe, how'd you say? Is it Zaharias?
Babe Diedrichsen, Zaharias, yeah.
Yeah, Zaharias, the only woman to have made the cut in one of these tournaments since 1945.
Let's go. So they're back at the Shriners this week. Go, Lexi, go.
Oh, you'd be more impressed. Fuck you.
I knew that, though. I was very happy and proud of you, and thank you for doing your homework. But there you go. DL3, Tiger, there's your little crossover in trivia, and now it's coming full circle where he's kind of saying like the student didn't even he was never the student, he was the master the whole time, and he's still the master. So, but speaking of Tiger, the indoor league, have you all right, so TGL, what did you I don't even remember what you were talking about, but you texted me last week, ESPN and TGL. So ESPN got are they airing this now?
So two big things came out about what we can expect out of the broadcast side of the TGL, and that's that ESPN is going to air them on, so I believe it was Monday night. So ESPN airs Monday Night Football. So I didn't see, maybe I missed, I didn't see exactly how the timing lines up in comparison.
A week after the Super Bowl.
So that exactly. So I think it's going to be like that, so where it doesn't interfere with Monday Night Football, but it keeps something hopefully in prime time for ESPN on Monday nights, which is key for ESPN and key for the TGL, I think, because I think that's going to be a natural transition for golf fans to slide right into that. And also that something that we speculated on, kind of assumed was going to happen, we got confirmation that the players that are part of the TGL will be mic'd up for these events, which I think is a must. If you're going to do something like this style of golf indoor, you got to take if they didn't mic them up, it'd be an absolute, disgrace from a business standpoint. Like, just a poor decision.
Well, it's funny you say poor decisions in business choices, because I've got some question marks on this whole product, but keep going.
Well, so one thing that you can't question, though, is the lineup of golfers that they've now locked down for this is, I'm sorry, but so here's the thing. Not only are they the type of, are they good golfers, like they're some of the best in the world. We're talking about Rory McIlroy. We're talking about John Rahm, who just absolutely crushed it for Europe in the Ryder Cup. Colin Morikawa, though, Justin Thomas, Matthew Fitzpatrick, who we've been talking, like literally you go to Max Homa, Tyrrell Hatton, like these are top-notch players that are incredibly relevant, top 10 worthy guys in the PGA right now and across the world. But not only that, these are some of the biggest personalities in golf right now. And if you're talking something completely different for golf, you're talking mic'd up golfers, you're talking about the way this format is set up, you don't just have to be good. You can't be out there and be boring like, oh man, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Can you imagine just someone walking up there and just swing the 6-iron here, I think. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, good shot. Okay. Like, that's not what this TGL is gonna be about. This is gonna be entertainment. This is what Liv missed out on. They didn't accept the fact that they were going to be entertainment. TGL is entertainment. So they've now balanced fantastic golfers with that just happen to also be amazing personalities. Shane Lowry mic'd up is going to be fantastic watching every Monday night for the TGL. I can't wait to see that. And I want to see how Matthew Fitzpatrick trash talks while playing, because we've seen how we can talk to the media after the fact and get it when he can plan his responses and whatnot. I want to see what comes off the cuff for a guy like Matthew Fitzpatrick. I think that's going to be fun.
Schmarmy little shit. And I'm just kidding. I like Matty Fitz. But Shane Lowry at the Ryder Cup was telling one of the marshals, because the marshal was telling the people, like, settle down, please, quit moving. And he turns around to the marshal and goes, you're making more fucking noise than any of them.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
You are right. This is going to be a fun, like, mic'd up group of guys. However,
hit me with your poor business. Hit me with the poor business.
That's not the poor business. I just don't reach for more. Don't reach for more. This whole the team aspect of it, I understand from a financial side, but for example, have you seen the Atlanta Drive? So we've got our team name, our first real team name, the Atlanta Drive.
Yeah, so I do. I think I'm gonna agree with you on this, but please,
I need you to do a couple things. First of all, they did this whole rollout, and they have a promo
I see Atlanta
video
Drive GC. Yeah.
Now, I want you to also open up the Four Aces golf logo from Live.
Oh, don't tell me that.
It's the same A.
And first of all, can we just because I just noticed this and I just put this together. They're calling themselves the Atlanta Drive GC, which obviously we know Atlanta Drive Golf Course. They're not playing on golf club. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, just like you have Liverpool FC or whatever.
But they're not playing at a fucking golf club. They're fucking playing at an indoor center. Like I don't know. Calling yourself GC for an indoor league just I don't know. It just seems.
Well, it doesn't bother me. I think that's a little homage to the golf culture.
Oh my god, you're right. It's like the
looks
same
just like the Four Aces. They have the little
I
gotta
pull it up side by side now. That's bad.
Because you see how there's the A, the left hand side of the A at the tail goes backward, comes up, and loops forward to make the little cross. It's the exact same A, just one's red, one's black, and they have a couple different touches of flair, but you see the overall same stroke. They did this cheese dick unveiling video.
It's close. You're right. So the details of the Four Aces one does make it different technically, as far as like if you want to call it the font is different. But you're right. The way they drew the A is 100% the same, and that it's close enough to where I instantly saw it and went yes.
My immediate reaction was, okay, so that's just going to be an easy way to say they're ripping it off.
Yep.
I'm still leery of the whole team concept in general of arbitrarily saying you're on blue, you're on green, you're on red, you're on white. None of these guys are moving to these cities. They're not playing the golf in these cities. And unless you intend to have some incredibly good like local engagement, I mean, like, what are they going to meet the team day out at the local muni? I think that the product as you were describing it sounds fun as shit. A bunch of these,
but don't make it this sounds wrong. Don't make it too legitimate.
Why not just let them be their own freaking people? They're in their own brands and say, it's going to be a 12-week season. We're going to do these 2-hour rounds on Monday nights. And we've got 16 players that are going to go head to head in 6-hole matches until, you can figure out the numbers and just have the guys forcing this team thing because it works for the Ryder Cup. And it's starting to work a little bit for Olympic golf. But then again, there are some minimal financial incentives if you win a gold medal. It works. And he's like, I just don't get the team aspect. I don't see Boston fans really coming out for the Cannonballs or whatever the fuck they name this team and saying like, yay, go Adam Scott from Gold Coast, Australia.
So have you looked at the TGL website though? Because I'm looking at it right now, and I think we might have got an answer to one of your questions about this very topic about how they're going to work in these teams actually being from like this area. When you go to the Atlanta Drive, page on the TGL, they have a mock-up drawing of a TGL indoor stadium, I guess, the SoFi Center at the
Yeah.
Palm Beach State College, which is in Florida. So it's at least on this side of
Yeah,
things.
we've touched on this before, and I actually did read a little more about that. That I was 100% correct, and they had that original mock-up. They didn't make it hard.
Yep.
They're going to essentially hit their shots into an IMAX screen, and then the other half, it's like a basketball arena, is about the size of it.
Oh, but you're saying this is still going to be where all this? Okay, so I was looking at this as this was going to be the Atlanta Drive's home field, if you want to
all
say.
golf, because
this is where it's all going to happen.
Yeah, because they're also probably going to use it as an instructional facility.
Okay, here's where I leave room for growth here. Here's where teams. No. Here's where I leave room for them trying to make smart business decisions. In that they're gonna move forward here in the first year.
Criticizing their business decisions.
I know, right? I know, but here's where they're gonna leave room for the first year, 2, maybe 3, until they see how big and what the projected growth of the TGL is gonna be. Why would they invest in multiple locations? From a business standpoint, that's a terrible idea. No, you put your money into one location, you make it work for the time being, and then as you see the growth pattern, then you make the decision, okay, if we can project ourselves in the next couple of years to hit this point, then yeah, let's give these cities their own location.
That's fair.
Like, if that happens, then maybe we hit that point. But to have 4 different locations right now does almost seem like that would be a bad money decision to build these locations if in a year they're just going to become fucking Top Golfs,
Wow. By the way, Top Golf is that is
awesome.
That is their technology partner.
But so that's very relevant. But you know what I mean? Like they want these to feel like professional venues.
No, I get it, and I'm just being a naysayer on the team thing. I think it kind of goes back to where Liv had some good ideas.
Yes.
Just I think poorly executed in some of the gimmickry.
Shorts.
And
let them wear shorts. I love the shorts idea.
Shorts all day. The shorts, the music. I can even get behind a shotgun start maybe for the first 2 or 3 rounds.
Don't do that. Last week you were so against the shotgun start.
No. I've come back a little bit for the first or second rounds when you're doing these wave tournaments where it's like, let's make it even more concise. And instead of trying to do, they still get a morning wave and an afternoon wave, but just get them out in the first 2 rounds and then have the leaderboard chase, because essentially in the first 2 rounds anyway, you don't get reshuffled based on, it's all a blind draw basically.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So, I mean, you can work that way, but somewhere where Liv is dead in the water is the official world golf ranking points. They came out and ruled today and said, no soup for you. And
I get it.
Yeah, the way that they stated it was just supremely obvious. And what we've been talking about, which is, wait a minute, Liv, you picked up your ball and you said, we're going to go over here and we're going to start playing the same game, but under different rules and in a different style and with different people and different this, different that. But we want to get rewarded and acknowledged the same way that they are.
Yeah,
and essentially, they came out and
left
said,
the game.
So the statement was, you've left us with no equity. Like they even said, we recognize that your players are freaking good.
Yeah.
It's self.
It's not about that.
Yeah, that's not the question here. You obviously have some of the best players in the world. We get that. What we're saying is, because you play these 54-hole events and there's a locked number of players, there's not the variability and the challenge and this, then they just said there's no equitable way for us to compare you with these 25 other professional organizations and the thousands of players and how they do business. And when you kind of lay the numbers out there, and they did, I love it. It's like, no, you're right. You've got wonderful golfers over there, and they're probably some of the best in the world. You're right. So for Liv to come out and say the game of golf is left without, no, and we've been saying this too. The professional golf world, there's the tiny tip of the iceberg that is basically playing in the TGL. And then there are the hundreds and hundreds and then thousands by extension of the global and mini tours, thousands of professional golfers that can go out there and shoot these scores. It's not too dissimilar from the NFL in the sense of, there are a lot of big, strong, fast, athletic dudes out there. You really do have to kind of be in the right place at the right time. I mean,
the situations have to line up for you,
right? I mean, there's a bunch of great basketball players playing playground hoops their entire lives and working other jobs because things didn't work out in the right time.
Speaking of that, go watch Uncut Gems from years ago with Adam Sandler. Fantastic movie.
I love that he insists on having like a bat. It's like Samuel L. Jackson insists on being able to play golf whenever he wants in his movie sets.
I know. I found that out and I was like, just Samuel. Like, Good for him.
Mark Wahlberg, speaking of celebrity shout outs in golf, I mean, he's like, it's like a drug. He goes, once it gets in your system, there's no way to get it out. And then there was another celebrity recently just talking about how it's the ultimate equalizer for anything and everything. There's nothing biased about a golf, the game of golf itself. The people in golf, that was a different story for a long time. So back to this live thing. So no soup for them. I think what's happening, and we'll see how correct we have been. We've been pretty damn accurate this whole time.
But we've been consistent.
With no official world golf ranking points coming down anytime soon. And I mean,
never, honestly, never.
Live. Yeah, exactly. Live can gripe all they want. Well, I could see them. I mean, what if Live comes back and says, fine, fuck it. We're going to go to 72 holes like everybody else.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, then yes, you get to have your world
I still go back to but then you're not Live players. Then you're not 48.
But then you're not Live anymore. I'm sorry, but you're not. They've made their bed. They've made their arguments. They
stay in your gimmicky.
No. But here's the thing. Yes, but because they've planted their flag so many times over and over, and honestly, in such obnoxious ways and such arrogant ways that they call themselves Live Golf under the premise of these standards, and this is why they believe themselves to be changing the game of golf and better. And if they then backstep and backwards conform to what the game of golf is everywhere else in the world, then yeah, I'm sorry, you're just another fucking tour at that point. And yeah, sure, you can have your world golf rankings, but there goes your personality. There goes everything that you planted your flag on, that you banked on. I'm sorry, you sold out. So you're either going to ride it out, prove your business decision for the model that you created, or fuck off.
They're going to be told to fuck off in these negotiations too, because the deadline's coming up, and I think that's what they're going to say is, listen, without now, all the people who make that decision are all partners of the PGA Tour and everything like that. But that's the point that they're kind of making is, you left us. We didn't say go out. You left us. So I think when it's all said and done, this might be the last nail in the coffin for Live. That initial investment is going to be seen just as that, as an investment in those players. And, maybe they were just, in the grand scheme of things, down payments for this eventual kind of merger deal that was going on. I love, so speaking of Live, Alan Shipnuck, who kind of really was the first person to bring all this to the forefront with his book about Phil. And he released those statements. He kind of leaked those statements about scary motherfuckers and, the people, the Saudis, and why am I doing business? So Alan Shipnuck has been this guy that depends on who you are, I guess, what you call him. Is he a journalist? Is he a gossip king? Is he this? Is he that? He's done other stuff. He's written novels before.
That's the thing. He's a respectful writer. Like, he's a very highly respected writer too. Like,
this latest book, though, and really what it was is some of the initial comments that came out of this one were like live, raw, in the moment, reactions. We talked about, I think, before Brooks's reaction, and about how Brooks goes, fuck these country club kids, talking about Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, which I love that was what he said, fuck those country club kids. And it's like, I had just had surgery.
That feels like it's in direct response stuff. Fuck Phil.
Yeah, fuck those country club kids. But I love what he followed that up with. He's like, I didn't come from much, and I just had 2 surgeries. I wasn't sure if I was going to really play at that level ever again, and I was just offered $130 million. He's like, I signed the contract and called my mom crying. Like, that was it.
And that's the thing. I think we've been consistent in saying that from these guys, everyone who went to Live, from the personal reasons why they made their decision, we are totally behind, understand, get it. There's no need for them to justify to us why they chose the money in the situation because of the less tournaments, the more time with their families, less traveling, all of that. Totally get it. I would probably do the same thing if I was in their position. Like, I don't knock them for making the decision to do that.
Charles Barkley.
I knock them for bitching and crying about it afterwards.
Charles Barkley was talking about this comment. It's like people saying, well, Chuck, would you punch a relative for $50 million? I'd do it for 10. Hell, it's like, that's my Chuck. That's my Charles Barkley. But Brooksy, I think,
it ain't bad.
Brooksy did it. Thank you. Brooksy did it better than anybody, because not only did he put his money where his mouth is, literally and figuratively, he showed up. I mean, he didn't perform at the Ryder Cup as well as I wanted to, but none of them did.
But at that point, we didn't need him to prove it to us he won anything to us at the Ryder Cup.
He won a major, and he was an inch away from another one, and he performed. It's like, it's there, and I think that's his point too. His comment at the Ryder Cup, which Max Homa was reflecting on this week about how many guys, he goes, there's 24 people in those locker rooms. If you ask them all, I'm sure they would all say they would want that ball in the moment. Give me the ball. Let me be the guy for the shot. He goes, how many do you think really want? He's like, very few. And Max Homa was talking about that. And he goes, you know what? It kind of hit me in that moment of like, he's like, and I know he didn't mean it in a disrespectful manner. He's like, but he's talking about, you have to have the winning mentality of a major winner. You have to be one of those dudes. He's like, I'm not one of those dudes yet, not to him anyway. And he's like, and that was going through my head, going into Sunday in that moment that was really pivotal for the Americans, even though it was kind of, that second to last gasp of air.
Yeah, it was a little too late.
But for Max to go 3-1 on the week like that and kind of say, he does have this pillar of his game established, but he's got a long way to go. I do appreciate the way Brooks, and I'm back on the Brooks bandwagon. I did play him in the majors in my fantasy league.
I don't think we ever were fully off the Brooks band. Like I know we were. So I feel like we both questioned at times, like, because we were curious as to how it was going to play out.
He gives you plenty of reason. He's an unabashedly. He's all the bad stereotypes about guys from Florida State, and trust me, we can smell our own. I grew up in Tallahassee. But Brooksy, I think, is one of the ones that will be back on tour.
I agree.
Here's a quick one for you before we head out and make room for the guys over at what's next?
TSS Fantasy, where you can find me with your sophistication station with your waiver wire pickups coming up at 9:00.
Truth gun to your head. Give me one name from the waiver wire.
You want to phone it? I gotta actually pull up his name so I can read it correctly, because I think I butchered it in my sophistication station segment for this upcoming show here. So I need to make sure I read this right.
Yeah, why don't you use my time for your dress rehearsal.
Here's your one. No, I've already done the recording. Here's your one name from the basement of the league, Amari Demercado. Demercado. I'm not sure how to say it right, and I do apologize, but he is now looking to be the number one running back in Arizona, with James Conner looking to most likely either go on IR or just miss multiple weeks.
By the way, second week
he's a 215 pound, 5'9" running back from TCU, ready to go.
Second week in a row that I've played a player and they go on IR. James Conner this week, and I can't remember who it was 2 weeks ago, but it's the curse of the Boudreaux. Bryson DeChambeau is going to be another guy that I think we see come back to the tour eventually. Brooks, Bryson, Cam Smith is going to make a comeback. DJ will probably. I think DJ will probably actually come back. He's actually not that old. He's just kind of on the latter end. So I think there's going to be a reunion here. But do you think that Bryson would have made 1 ounce of difference on Team USA this year?
No, I really don't, because
okay.
I know. Yeah, I know. I know he had that phenomenal round.
It was at the Greenbrier. Even I'll go back on myself and say that was a resort course.
Yeah. So outside of that, though, it's not like he was playing great golf. I'm sorry, he wasn't.
He wasn't at the time, but he was just having a lull. The guy's one of the best on the planet. The Shipnook book.
Yes.
Brooksy says, fuck those country club kids. All right. So basically what he's doing is he's saying this is how it all went down in the moment. Well, the way that Justin Thomas reacted was basically by saying, damn it, Alan, like, I'm sick of people like Alan Shipnook making money off of sowing division in our game instead of being a positive force for yada, yada, yada. They both have a point. Justin, yes. I get where you're coming from. Couldn't agree with you more. Wouldn't it be nice if? And the answer to that is, yeah, that would be nice. But at the same time, it doesn't pay the bills the way that this new book, which will probably be the first book that I've read in a long time that's not assigned reading, so to speak. But I do think that this book might fall flatter than he was hoping, because I think people are over it now. I'm curious.
The timing is a little off.
Yeah, I think.
But at the same time, he doesn't get the information he gets without pushing it off to this point.
But I think this is also kind of the second in a trilogy, knowing that, like, I'm going to get this book out now. He kind of did the prequel with Phil. There's going to be this one of it all going down. And then there's going to be, once this deal either implodes or goes off, it's going to be the follow-up to that. And this is where it's all setting. Either way, I'm looking forward to reading it. I got to actually buy the thing first. But it is called Live and Let Die. How fucking cute.
How
the
cute, how
inside
cute.
story of the war between the PGA Tour and Live Golf. And so, Alan Shipnook, here's to you and your Fire Pit Collective. Keep up the good work. Anything
I may
else?
have to no, that's it. We got to get out of here because we don't want to hold up the guys over at TSS Fantasy any longer. They're going to be jumping
I
on
had no idea.
right here. I know, me neither, but we're going to be jumping on right here on YouTube here in the next couple seconds. TSS Fantasy, get your football fix. I am Andrew LeDuc, a.k.a. Mr. Marrow. This is Bud Copeland at This Bud's For You, and we are Divots and Pivots, and we will see you next week.